Okay, hi, we're Required Gaming, and I'm my Moosey Fate.
I'm Grid Defense Mode.
I'm HLC Punk.
And today we're doing one of my personal favorites, Final Fantasy X.
It is probably the easiest of all the Final Fantasy games to get into. It sets you up with characters that have their own specialties, and it kind of separates all their stats so you learn how to play the game.
Yeah. It is great for the gameplay, but it's even better for the story. Everybody kind of has their own Final Fantasy that's their favorite, but I think there's no denying that Final Fantasy X has some of the best characters and the best story all put together.
Yeah, obviously I haven't played it as much as they have, but I've gotten into it a little bit. I've definitely got farther than I did on 7. It is more accessible. It is easier to understand the skill tree and everything else. And like the combat seems more fun to me. Like, I don't know, I haven't really played too many other Final Fantasy games, but this is the first one that they got me into, and I've been playing like the crap out of it the past few days.
Hear that from Waka?
Yeah, it's the constant switching characters in and out. It makes all the characters feel relevant and important, because if you're not switching Auron in and you're trying to use Tidus on certain characters, he's not going to be as successful as if you brought Auron in.
Right, or Waka with flying enemies and stuff like that, and you actually want to use magic because things are sensitive to other stuff. But it also is great switching characters in with the build-up system, so that you don't have to change parties and then go and build them up, and then change another party and go and build them up. You can do it all at once with more than 3 characters, even though 3 is only in a party.
Yeah, it does one of the best build-up things in Final Fantasy, where you can just switch characters in, and as long as they were in the fight at some point, even if they didn't do anything,
Yeah,
it adds points to their skill tree, and then whoever's in the final party, I think, gets a little bit more EXP. But it makes it real easy to build up everybody evenly and get everybody through their skill trees.
Sounds like him, but
versus saying now a lot of things do more of a people build up on their own when you're not in the party at all. Even they just get some sort of skill, which is useful. But this was the first time they tried something like that, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was also an innovative Final Fantasy in the fact that this is the first time that characters talked.
Yeah.
We had voiceovers for the first time in Final Fantasy X.
Go ahead.
I'm not really used to playing like the turn-based role-playing games. The one that really got me into it was the South Park Stick of Truth. And I kind of noticed, because I tried playing a few other ones, I just cannot get into the flow of like how these work. It seems like this one's just so much easier to get into, and it's just so much faster to pick through your different things when you're actually going into battle. And it's like I said, it made me feel more comfortable at actually jumping into a game like this late in like a series that I've never really played much before, that actually makes me feel comfortable playing it and feel more comfortable with that kind of a combat system that I'm not used to.
And the build-up system is a great thing by making it more fun. You're not really focusing on leveling up. You're focusing on getting points so you can kind of get through this giant game board. And you're trying to gain spheres that you can place down on this giant map. So as you're going through, if you have maybe an ability you don't understand, or you do understand it and you may not use it as much as other abilities, you can choose, I'm going to go on and keep building myself up, because that ability really doesn't mean too much to me. And the first time you're playing, you want to fill out that game board, but as you play more of the game, you realize, oh, I don't, sometimes I don't need this. And it's really good for a second playthrough for people who want to do like speed runs and stuff, because you can kind of figure out how you're going to build yourself up, and especially when you earn the lock spheres that unlock other parts of the game board that brings you into other characters' abilities. You can end up sending, like Kamaru's the first one that you learn this with, is you go through his, it's very small, but then you have the option to go through, I want more strength, so I'm going to take Auron's path, or I want him to be faster, I'm going to take Tidus's path. And that helps create variety in your characters.
That's another thing about the sphere grid in the past, are that when you level up, it doesn't just evenly give you like, oh, more strength and stuff like that. You actually have to use spheres and each character has more strength or more magic based off of what grid they're actually on. Which is a cool level up system.
Yeah, it's,
Usually when I level up, the first thing I go for is more health. Anything to keep me from dying. Especially in a game I'm not really used to that much. I just don't want to die as much. So I level that up, and I level up like any kind of power that I can like kill other people with.
and that's what this game does is, you know, he wants more health power. Well, this game focuses on, we want to give these characters this much health power because they're probably going to do more of the fighting, or these people are the healers, so we want to focus more on the magic. So he doesn't have to worry about, should I give this character more magic, or should I give this person? No, it's set for you to where, hey, this is what you need for this character, and you go through it this way. It gives you, it basically tells you, this is how you need to level up these characters.
Right.
And after that, you can go into other games and realize, hey, I want to build up this way. So,
Yeah, it kind of teaches you, but at the same time, it's a little bit more tactical in the turn-based sense that since you don't get to pick on the characters, and this is like, hey, this is how they're leveled up, it's who to use when, and, you know, picking those characters for the right situation. And say you do want someone like Yuna, who's a healer and a summoner, to have more health. When you're done with hers, you know who has health power on their grid to go over to.
or you can bring in one of her summons and just mess up whatever you're fighting.
Summons are awesome in this one.
Yeah.
Are you alone when you summon Yuna?
Yes, you are alone.
Yes, it's just Yuna and the summoner. I was making sure. Because I played a lot of 10 too. And I'm like, wait, which one's Sun 2 and which one's Sun? But besides the fighting system, there's a million great things about this game. I think this is one of those games that, personally, it's hard to describe, but it gives you that, like, sense of almost like it has an aura about it. Like, you remember it a certain way. It's got, like, almost like a smell or a feeling that, when you think about or anything, it just brings your memories back to it.
It has a great story in the sense of, you know, your base mission right away. It's, you're traveling with this group of people and a summoner that you're supposed to get to a certain location. And that location ends up being where the main character is from, but what people keep saying don't exist, it doesn't exist anymore. So there's that mystery behind that, and then along the way there's some blitzball play and such, kind of a distraction, but the main story is just trying to get Yuna, the main character, female, to Xanarkand to fight Sin.
And I think the pilgrimage itself is a beautiful thing, because in real life, and people actually do spiritual pilgrimages, and they go from point A to point B, and they go through these different things that they're supposed to, like her trials and the temples that have this this feeling to them, like this is, you know, something she's supposed to do, and it's been through the ages that other people have traveled also, and it's got that almost historical feel to it, that even though it's more of a linear story and game, it's unique everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And it does give you a very
Speaking of trial, you did the first trial, right? You got that far?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where you had a
trials are fun.
the spheres and the
Yeah, the
different areas.
spheres, and then yeah, I've done that.
They get kind of hard, but they're fun.
Yeah.
The
There's,
first one was pretty easy, surprisingly.
but you gotta be careful. There are secrets in them. So if you did find something,
This game's chock full of
yeah,
secrets, actually.
each one of them has a special secret. So, but you gotta figure out a puzzle to kind of get in. When you do, you actually get really good items in those towns. So they're worth exploring a little bit further.
I think the summons are really good in this too.
Yeah,
Shiva's one of my favorite versions.
Yeah.
I love her.
but-
I actually like Ixion better than most any other electric summon from Final Fantasy.
It's debatable.
You debate me, but I love Ixion. I like Belfort.
Yeah, I do too. Unique non-elemental.
Yeah.
The big thing in this story, though, is that when you beat the game and you kind of know the story and you replay it, there's so much that gets said throughout the story that you don't realize what it means at first.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try not to spoil anything because he's still working his way through the story. But when you replay this whole game after you know the end of the game, which is a crazy great ending, it pulls at your heartstrings the entire time. And knowing the ending of the game, replaying this is a whole different experience because everything you hear, the conversations, the little things that are said, and the hopefulness of everything, it's just a really sad
I
experience.
was gonna say, it kind of makes the second playthrough really depressing.
It's a really depressing playthrough, but it's its own thing. But I mean,
It's
don't-
beautiful in a way, too.
yeah, don't expect any happy endings.
No, but I think that's kind of where 10-2 comes in, though, too, is that, although that's not our required game, it is kind of, they go together, and it makes 10-2 really kind of sad to go through because there's little snippets of everything. And if you try to 100% the game, you go through every place again, and there's something to be said about each place. And it's pretty depressing, too, but...
But there's a lot of big main themes too, from religion and racism and just
duty in general and stuff like that.
and how far people are willing to go for, or what people are willing to even give up for a time where there's going to be a little bit of peace.
Yeah.
And relationships with family, and there's a lot of just
Each character has a rich story, actually.
yeah. Each character is kind of fighting their own personal little thing, and there's just a lot of really harsh subject matter that I think a lot of people have trouble discussing, and or I don't know, maybe seeing the other side. And this game kind of puts that right on the table and says like, hey, these are problems in the world, and this is how we should go about dealing with it. And it shows people not liking each other, and just people changing and figuring out a better way, or figuring out like maybe this isn't 100% right. So
And it does continue those themes through 10-2 also.
yeah.
That things don't just change in a day, and, you know, even when you try to fix stuff, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But, also, along those lines, when saying each character is rich, it's one of the first Final Fantasies that I personally think not only is each character usable, but they do all have important and full story to them.
Yeah.
There's no random character in there, even Kamari, and it's usually that random animal-like character that's kind of left by the wayside.
But he even has his own small part to play. I think since Final Fantasy VII, I don't think there's really been, other than 4 and 7, that have really every single character is important and relevant in the story. 10 is one of those that is every character is relevant.
I think people argue that 7 had Kate Sith and that they didn't flesh out like Vincent and Yuffie and stuff like that. And I guess my point is in 10, it kind of undid that. It kind of listened to what the problems were with things like that, and it gave each character this, you know,
Yeah.
relevance.
But, I mean, those are the strongest relevances. It's not like 9 where 4 characters are totally relevant and the
Or
4
8
characters...
where all characters are irrelevant.
Oh. 8 where
Sorry.
every character is relevant except, you know, you're
All
not
of
going to
them?
use half of them.
No, they're just irrelevant
Yeah, they're-
completely. Even the story, it's like, this didn't even have to
Or
happen.
they're not even useful.
It's horrible.
But 10, everybody's useful in their own way. The story is great. And if you don't enjoy the story or it doesn't tug at your heartstrings, you don't have a heart.
Right?
It's
Where is your soul?
It's a hard game to finish because it does have a lot of harsh, sad stuff in it. And there's a lot of just betrayal and just really good story matter.
Yeah, honestly,
If
I
you
think
want a
it
good
does
story,
make you think. And when you finish this game, if you actually paid attention to it and thought about it and stuff like that, it makes you think in general.
Just listening to you guys talk about like this game really makes me want to play it even more.
When you get to the end,
I mean,
if you make it to the end, and I
It's
really hope
worth
you do, you're probably gonna want to hang yourself.
It's one of those games you
It's-
actually can't spoil for someone
No.
because telling the story is nothing like being in it.
Yeah.
It's you have to be there and you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's just not. It doesn't feel the same if you don't.
Think about the last scene in the game.
I know, don't.
It's terrible.
I mean, just from one point on, it's just like, oh my god, I'd rather be dead.
And I think besides 7 and 10 are probably the two bittersweet endings. And I think that's what makes them so good is because it usually Final Fantasy it's more
It's more of a
about
fairy tale.
you're saving the world and there is some sort of happy ending at the end. 7 and 9 don't do that, and or 7 and 10 don't do that. Yeah,
I
my
say
bad.
9's a real
Nine's
great.
really happy.
That's your fairy tale.
Well, there's one instance of sad, but it's kind
Right.
of like a. But 10 and 7 are very bittersweet, and you just got to take them for what they are.
And yeah, like I said, it makes you technically learn from them. It makes you care that much more, think that much more.
Yeah.
Also, the places in 10.
Great
Each
locale.
unique, I would literally love to live in Sphera. Just the moon flow and taking a shoe puff and what it looks like when it's lit up. They're so cute.
There's a lot of secrets to find, a lot of secret summoning monsters to find. So if you think you went through the story and you found everything, you didn't, probably.
But you don't have to. It's just one of those stories that are games that actually, if you want to, it's rich of content.
I will never ever try to get the Onion Knight again.
100% of the game. I'm
It's
sorry.
terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever done.
4th of July weekend.
4th of July.
Like, I don't know. I just heard, I was like, oh, fireworks.
But, yeah.
Yeah. And
I just don't even want to think about the game anymore. I'm getting sad.
I know, me too.
The razor blades.
Apparently, if you 100% 10-2, it makes it better, but I don't know if I like that.
Yeah.
I like where,
10 left off where I think it should.
I like 10-2 and its ending and stuff, and kind of that, where do you go from here, and what happens to people after stuff like that. It's got a lot of hope, and,
But
moving on, independence, it's that feeling of independence afterward. And I like to see that in a female character is...
you get that with 10. You see a strong female character. Yuna's probably one of the strongest female
She's
character
probably
leads in game.
like my favorite character in anything ever.
She's strong and she's not like a fighter or anything. And
She's strong in
but
a
when
whole
she
bunch
summons,
of ways.
she is powerful, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about what she's willing to do, the sacrifices she's
What she
willing
goes
to
through.
make.
But I think that's why 10-2 makes it a little bit better too, is that after what happens,
She keeps going.
that's showing that she is really what she appears to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anything else? Because I could probably talk for hours about this game. If it were with spoilers, we would have the deeper meaning of 10 class going.
But just playing a little bit that I played of this so far, I'm kind of really looking forward to what the new remake of 7 is going to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the combat is going to be on that.
Yeah, if they do justice to 7 is just... It's also one of those games that it's a tearjerker from start to finish, and
Great
there's a
story,
lot of
great characters.
really edgy subject matter. That game is one of the most edgy games on the planet just because the subject matter is so messed up, and there's a lot of death.
Yeah.
But don't discount 10 either. 10 is very edgy, and there's death. So
Yeah, the subject matter is edgy in a different way from 7. It's, like I said, it's religion, racism, things like that. A lot of it comes up. Even though it's a different world, it's applicable every day.
yeah,
Anything you can learn from that game. Anything else?
no.
Well, this was Final Fantasy X, one of my personal, probably up there for favorite games ever.
Play it and hate life,
No, have a renewed feeling on life.
and then kill yourself.
I'm my Moosey Fate.
I'm Gerda Fence
I'm
Mode.
HLC Punk.
See you in the next game.